What's going on, people? It's your boy, the Boxing Lowdown, here for episode 95 of the Boxing Lowdown podcast, man. You know what time it is. It's that time of the week. Delighted to be joined, as always, by, you know who it is, man, the main man in the building, Mr. Laurie from AFTV in the house. Straight out of Carney the other day, bank holiday. What's going on? How's everything going?
Yeah, fine, man. Not too bad. Actually, I just got back from the gym. I went to my local gym and then time was running. So I came straight here, but Arsenal are playing at home tonight. And so there's a lot of traffic on the roads near here. So, yeah, just about made it in time. So, yeah, good to be here. Good to be here.
Yeah. Our last show was actually just over a week ago. We didn't really have one in between. We didn't really touch on the events of last weekend. I'm not really going to go into it. Like, it's not really my bag anymore to really talk about it. But yes, for those that were kind of wondering, you know, it's been a while since the last show. Apologies for that. But we're here today. We've got quite a bit to get through. And I'm just going to jump straight into it, man. First of all, you guys know what to do. Hit the like button on the way in. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you have any comments that you want to add, feel free to drop them in. We'll happily respond to them, or we'll at least put them up for everybody else to see. So yeah, big up to everybody coming in the chat as always. Let's get kicking, man. Let's jump straight into it. This weekend, very good fight. I'm looking forward to this one, man. Andy Ruiz and Ruiz-Ortiz fighting each other on pay-per-view in America. It's actually on Fight TV over here. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight, man. I want to get your thoughts on it and, you know, just your breakdown on the fight itself, man. I mean, this is one that I'm looking forward to. It's an all-Latin heavyweight showdown. I think that this will be a very good scrap, man. Maybe it's a bit late in terms of Ruiz-Ortiz not being in his prime. Maybe it could have been made a year or two ago. But nevertheless, it's still a good fight. And I reckon it will be an entertaining one. Both of them like to throw hands. Both of them have shown that they can be vulnerable. So, yeah, this looks like it could be a very entertaining heavyweight fight this weekend.
But before I start, haven't you missed something?
What have I missed?
I thought you would have started off by reviewing the fights last week where history was made.
What you're talking about there? I didn't listen, man. I didn't touch on. I wasn't. I said earlier, I'm not touching really on. That's not really. I mean, if you want to talk about that, we can.
But two knockouts in one night, and you're not talking about it. One man fought twice, 2 knockouts in one night, and you've decided to not talk about it. No, I'm only joking. You don't have to talk about it. But yeah, the KSI debacle. I think that's probably the best word for it. Yeah,
you were doing the watch along for that, wasn't you?
I was. Yeah, I just wanted to know your thoughts on it, whether you saw any of the fights, or because just quickly, my thoughts are obviously the main fights were ridiculous. That was just absolute nonsense. But there were actually a couple of good fights on the undercard. But yeah, man.
I'll be honest then. I mean, and I know, like, yeah, we're going slightly off topic, but we can touch on it because, you know, it did happen.
Sold out arena, man.
I don't want to. Yeah, listen. I mean, I don't want to be the negative killjoy. You know, that's why I chose not to speak on it. But now you've put me in a position where I have to speak about it. So now people are going to hear the negative thoughts. So listen, I just chose totally not to address it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just chose not to even acknowledge it. I had no interest in it. Previously, I've come out and said that I reckon that YouTube boxing could be good for the sport because it might add more eyes to it. Do you know what I mean? Over the last few months, couple years or whatever, I've just not been, I don't think it's been in a positive way. And if anyone in the comments disagrees, feel free to add in. You don't have to agree with me. But I just feel that with, like, particularly the show last weekend, I think I just reached the end of my tether with it. I was just like, look, man, I'm not interested in this. It's garbage. He's fighting 2 guys in one night. It's just it's becoming a comedy for me. And like, I just wasn't interested in it at all. Like, you knew what was going to happen. He was going to win both of them. He's going to start chatting about calling somebody out or whatever. And it's just not really my bag, man. I mean, I thought originally that it would bring more eyes to boxing. But it's not really. It's not really bringing in those newfound fans that everybody was talking about. It's really just the people are only interested in the YouTube stuff, which is fine. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that they can't do it, but when you've got DAZN now taking up their space on their shows to include this sort of garbage, that's where it becomes a concern. Because if it was just being streamed on YouTube and whatever, fine. You know, that's their business, that's their thing. But for DAZN to have as much interest in it as they did, and for them to broadcast it on pay-per-view, and like, you know, that could be card space for somebody else. Do you know what I mean? That could be another show for another fighter. Do you know what I mean? That's where I'm starting to think, you know what, I don't find this entertaining anymore. Like, I'm not really into it like that. And I might sound hypocritical because I did say that I wasn't too angry at what, Jake Paul was doing, but the bigger picture, I'm just looking at and I'm just thinking, this is going to be the future. This is not going anywhere. If anything, it's going to get worse. And I know you did the watch along last weekend, and I know that you're going to have your say, but for me personally, I've got no interest in it. It's not that entertaining to me. I'm just not with it. I'm just not really
right. Okay, right. So I'll tell you what. I'll give you my thoughts, having sat through last week's one, and this is about the second or third one I've watched, not in its entirety, but the one at the weekend I did watch in its entirety. And what I would say is this: is that to me, it's almost two different sports now. You've got the YouTube boxers and you've got what I would call traditional real boxing. And they're two entirely separate entities. The only similarities is they glove up and they get in the ring. But I think if you look at it from two different perspectives, then you will see straight away that if they stay in their lane and boxing stays in its own lane, then I do think the two can coexist and go about their merry way. The problem I have is when you start mixing stuff. So, for example, KSI's first fight, he fought Swarms. I didn't know too much about Swarms, but I'm reliably informed he's a rapper and a so-called roadman. And he was very swiftly dealt with, had absolutely no boxing IQ, looked like he'd never been in a ring before, turning his head and turning his back every time he got hit, and was put away inside a round, I believe, something like that. Or if not, he made it into the second round and was stopped then. And that was kind of predictable, more laughable, really. The second fight, I did have a bit of a problem with because that was supposed to be a professional fighter that they dug out with a 2-5 record. Of those 5 losses, 4 of them were by stoppage. But that perhaps didn't even tell the whole story because he was quite possibly, and I don't say this lightly, the worst professional boxer I'd ever seen. And when I say ever seen, I've been in the game a long, long time, and I don't think I've ever seen a guy as bad as that. Even in gyms, I've seen some pretty poor so-called professionals, but he was the absolute worst fighter I've ever seen. Every time he got hit, he was complaining. He didn't throw a punch in anger. He was just running away, and he was just a disgrace. And see, this is the problem I have. That guy is supposed to be a professional fighter, so now KSI is going to run around saying, yeah, I knocked out a professional fighter in 2 rounds, which technically he did. But I know, and anybody watching that with a semblance of boxing knowledge will know that guy, I don't know where they dug him up from, but he just clearly come here to lose and pick up a paycheck. Because as I was saying to somebody, I think it was Shane I was watching it with the other day, I said, look, he probably earned for that so-called fight 10 times more than he'd ever earned before all of his fights put together. So he was paid to lose, basically. But having said that, on the undercard, there were some pretty competitive fights. And there were a couple of fights there that, if you looked at the protagonists, for example, Deji, and there's Salt Pappy and a couple other guys, they seemed to know what they were doing. You'd see that those guys have already been working on their craft. They put a lot into it, and it showed in the ring because they did actually demonstrate some passable skills. So, yeah, what I took from it was if those guys stay in their own lane and do their own thing, I don't have too much of a problem with it. It's when they start calling out professionals and disrespecting professionals and getting guys like the guy they got from Mexico, Pineda, whatever his name is, when they dig up dead bodies like that to come over here under the so-called guise that he's a professional boxer, that's where I have a problem with it, because that's when it just gets ridiculous. So, yeah, that's
Okay.
my, yeah.
Big up Francisco. He says here, YouTube match, Daryl versus Dante from Dante's boxing. He's quite heavy, that guy, isn't he? He's quite big, that dude, man. He's quite big. But listen,
I think he used to box as well. I'm sure I've heard him say on his show that he's boxed a couple of times. I know he's got sons that's boxed to a decent level, amateur as well. So watch out, Daryl.
Listen, like, big up Dwayne in the chat as well. What I'll say is this: you said earlier that you're okay with it until they mix in terms of like YouTube boxing and professional boxing. Well, let me put it to you from this angle then. Over a course of a year, the Zone will have like a certain amount of shows that they will have specifically for boxing. Now, one of the things I've said is that as long as it doesn't kind of interfere or get in the way of other serious shows, then wouldn't really have a problem with it. You'd allow it to coexist. But with this taking up like the Zone pay-per-view, do you know what I mean? How many of them can they offer a year? They've already given one of those slots to KSI. So does that affect the hardcore fan who could have potentially missed out on a pay-per-view on the Zone because this is kind of like overshadowed it? Do you get what I'm trying to say? As this, and this is the problem. Like,
no, but you know what? It shouldn't do, really. It shouldn't do.
Well, they only can allocate a certain amount of shows per year, right? There's only a certain amount of weekends in a year. So one of them is now been this pay-per-view. And is that getting in the way of potential cards, potential fights? People say no, but I don't know.
It shouldn't do, and I'll tell you why. Because one thing you did notice about the show on Saturday, and I have to be honest and say this, is that it sold out. 20-odd thousand people in the O2. And the other thing I noticed as well is it was sold out from the first fight. They stayed in the arena, which is something that you don't always get in boxing.
Yeah, but this is what
so from a commercial perspective, you could see why DAZN would put that on. That is a money spinner for them, because you got to understand that the protagonist that's taking part, say, on the show on Saturday, a lot of these guys have got millions of followers who are going to watch it. So commercially,
you sound like one of them now. Because
now I'm just putting the two perspectives. Like I said, having watched it right through from the start to the finish the other day, I was trying to be level-headed. I was trying to be fair. And like I said, I quickly came to the conclusion that both sports, and they are different sports, but they can coexist. Like I said, what I noticed straight away was on Saturday, unlike most, if not all, professional boxing fights that I've attended or been to or seen on TV, is that this one was the 20-odd thousand were in the arena from the first fight, and they stayed right through to the end. You don't get that in traditional professional boxing.
You talk about that, and we said at the beginning, we was like, yeah, this is a good thing, man. Look how many people are tuning in. These people got no interest in the actual sport. That's what I've come to realize.
And that's fine. That's fine.
No,
so what I'm saying,
all this,
but I don't think they have to. I don't think they have to. Like I said, it's two different sports.
So how does that benefit the hardcore fan then?
It doesn't have. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to, because it's two different entities. That's what I realized on Saturday. That if you scan the crowd, you see the sort of people that's turning up to watch these things. Straight away, you know that 99% of those people are not going to be at a boxing match unless it's a real top fight, like Fury versus Joshua or something like that.
Okay.
Most of those guys are not going to go to a traditional fight.
Okay, so what benefit? So if that is the case, then why are DAZN a boxing platform? No, I know they cover other sports, DAZN, but why is it this that has to? Why is it showcasing this then?
Because very simple.
Why is the boxing community so heavily invested in it if this is not, what the real boxing is? Is this a different sport, so to speak?
Right. So if you're DAZN, right, you're there to make money at the end of the day. It's a commercial avenue that they can exploit. You can't really blame them for that, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? They've got their costs. They set up their business. And if they see that they can make money via this, they're going to go for it. What I'm saying is it's two different sports almost, two different lanes. They could do their thing there. Boxing can more than survive. As long as it gets its product right, they can survive in their lane. You know what I mean? And they might even want to, if I'm being honest, take a couple of tipsters from the way these guys do their thing. And it might improve and enhance traditional boxing. The way it's packaged and
I
so
feel
forth.
like we've
You know what I
said. I
mean?
feel like we've said this last couple of years, and nothing's really. What impact has it had on it? Like the sort of fighters out there to, like fighters that are moaning about these YouTube guys, they could learn from them. I ain't seen a lot of impact in it in terms of fighters changing how they act, or I haven't seen much change in the sport for me. Other than a one-off show, it does really well, and then they'll just do another one. Like I think Jake Paul's had some sort of impact where he's treated fighters differently, which is good. Like with Amanda Serrano and a few of the others. But like, I mean, I've just got no interest.
The thing is, right, I think what we've got to stop doing traditionally is people like you and me and other people I know. I think it's got to the stage we've almost got to stop moaning about it and just accept that they are there. Let them do their thing and let boxing do its own thing. But it's two different sports now. I'm telling you now. Well, so we're not going to stop it by moaning about, they're doing this and that. We are not going to stop it because they're making too much money. It does have gravitas. People do regardless of what people like me and you say, it's garbage, it's this and that. If they hold another one next month, people are going to watch it.
I know.
What boxing's got to do is focus on improving its own sport because they are two different sports.
What I will say is I wasn't going to bring this up today. I had no interest. Like I had literally no interest in it. Zero. So that's why, because I didn't want to, I knew I was going to be negative about it. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just not even going to touch on it.
And you know what? I'm glad I watched it because, like I said, I've seen little bits and pieces of YouTube fights. Saturday night was the first time I actually sat down and watched one from the beginning to the end. And that's what I took from it. I didn't learn anything about boxing because, let's face it, most of those guys don't know a fish hook from a left hook. Having said that, from a business and commercial side of things, I can see why that business model works. As much as we like to trash it and regard it as garbage, which, let's face it, compared to traditional boxing, it is pretty much. However, it's a bit like 2020 cricket and test match cricket. Although they have the same, it goes by the same label as cricket, it's two different sports. 2020 cricket and test match cricket are almost two completely different sports. And I think that's the way we've got to look at it with YouTube boxing and traditional boxing. Where I have the problem is when they try and merge them. And you see Jake Paul with his garbage stuff with Azim Rahman Jr. Now, he's about to announce his next opponent as Vitor Belfort. I've got no problem with that because Vitor Belfort is a retired MMA guy and it's just a nonsense fight to cater to YouTube boxing fans. Get on with that. Cool. What we need to be worrying about is why Spence and Crawford's not been made. That's what we should be, as a boxing public, that's what we should be worried about. But anyway, I know you want to talk about other things, so I thought I would just bring that up to just get your opinion and get it out of the way. So yeah, let's crack on. Well, unless you want to talk about Salt Pappy versus whoever it is. You know what I mean?
Not really. But let's talk about a real fight this weekend, man. A good fight as well between Andy Ruiz and Luis-Ortiz. Like I said, all Latin heavyweight showdown. I feel like it could have taken place a year or so ago. But you know what? It's going to be entertaining, I reckon. Both of them throw hands. Both of them have been down in their previous fight. I think that this will be a very good showdown. So maybe not similar in terms of how it plays out, but I think it will be entertaining like how Hrgovic and Zhang was entertaining. No title on the line, obviously, but give me your thoughts on this one, man. A real fight between Andy Ruiz and Luis-Ortiz this weekend.
Good fight, like you said. Two guys probably both past their best. Certainly, Luis-Ortiz is past his best. I mean, his age is given as 40. What is it? 2? But some people are suggesting that he might be a lot older than that. So, But anyway, his last fight against Charles Martin, I have to admit, he didn't look very good at all. He got the job done in the end, but he got dropped, and he was actually behind on points at the time of the stoppage. So that does not bode well for him. Andy Ruiz, have to say similarly, his last fight against Chris Arreola, he didn't look that good either, although he did win it in the end. He got dropped, I think, in that fight too. So it is an interesting crossroads fight between two guys who are probably not going to reach world title level, let's be honest, but they've still got the name. And it is, like you said, an all Latin affair. Two guys who do like to throw their hands. So I'm expecting quite an entertaining fight. But I must admit, I am leaning towards Andy Ruiz. He's a younger, slightly fresher guy. Fast hands, decent dig. I'm expecting him to come through this one, to be honest. If you'd have asked me, say, even last year, probably would have gone for Ruiz-Ortiz. But having seen him against Charles Martin, man, he did look a bit frayed, a bit old, you know what I mean? Maybe at last the age and the blood pressure medications and all that starting to catch up with him. And so I can see Andy Ruiz, if he boxes his way further in the first 3 or 4 rounds, gets through those okay, I expect him to start taking over. And he might even force a late stoppage, you know. But I definitely expect Andy Ruiz to win.
See, this is the thing. I agree with you. And it seems like everybody else in the comments, Passionate Puncher, Michael Maxwell, Dwayne B, they're in agreement as well. The old term, you know, is you're only as good as your last fight, kind of rings true here because Andy Ruiz didn't look good in his last fight either. He hasn't been very active. He looked pretty vulnerable. He was dropped against Chris Arreola. So, you know, he ain't been looking that great either. He's been in and out of shape, blowing up in weight, then losing it again. And, you know, how committed is he at this stage? I don't know. I'm picking him to win, but I'm not. I wouldn't surprise me if Ortiz won at all. You know, maybe he's got one last hurrah. He may have had a bad performance against Charles Martin. Still got through it. Maybe he might put it all out in this one here. I don't know because Ruiz hasn't been looking that great either to me. He's younger. He's got that in his favor. But, you know, he didn't look good against Arreola at all.
No, he didn't. He didn't. But yeah, but I think the difference is with Andy Ruiz's fight is that with him, you're still kind of speculating as if was it a bad night at the office? Did he underestimate Chris Arreola? Because I must admit, I think I'd spoken to you before that fight and we both kind of rubbished it, hadn't we? Because Chris Arreola was pretty much retired when he fought Andy Ruiz, and yet he gave him so much trouble. We was expecting Ruiz to get him out of there before the halfway mark. And I'm pretty sure Andy Ruiz thought that as well. And then he gets in there and lo and behold, he's in a dogfight. So I think he may have underestimated Chris Arreola to a degree. I think with Ruiz-Ortiz, it was slightly different in that it was evident when you were watching him, certainly that night, you think to yourself, look, this guy's looking old in there, man. He's getting beaten to the punch by Charles Martin. He's getting rocked a few times in there. He got knocked down by a jab. You know what I mean? And what you took away from that fight was, are we seeing the end of a very good fighter? As he reached his peak and is on the way down. That's what it looked like to me. And so when I balance that up against what I saw, I mean, Ruiz didn't look that good either. But I'm looking at the two of them and I'm thinking Ruiz might have been just an off night. Whereas Ortiz, he looked like he was close to being shot. You know what I mean? So, and for that reason, I'm giving Andy Ruiz the edge. But it will be an interesting fight while it lasts, I'm sure.
Yeah, it will be. And it kind of opens up the door for, you know, some other big fights in the division. Ruiz has made it clear if he wins, he wants Wilder next, should he beat Robert Helenius. Ortiz, I'm not sure where he goes after this. I'm not sure if this is an eliminator or what. But for me...
it's a PBC eliminator.
Yeah. So for me, I'm just wondering, like, you know, with Andy Ruiz, I guess he's got more to prove in terms of, like, he had a bad performance last time out. He's going to want to show that he's still at world level. He is a former world champion. Ruiz-Ortiz, never actually got to that level in terms of winning the belt. But we will see what he can do, and he might feel at the end of his career that he never got the opportunity earlier on to showcase what he could do. I know he got it against Wilder, but he missed out on like the lucrative heavyweight showdowns against some of the other top guys in the division. I'm going to favour Andy Ruiz because I do think at this stage he's still got the better chin than Ruiz-Ortiz. He's only been dropped twice, hasn't he, really, against Areola and AJ. That one against Areola, was that more of a flash knockdown, really? He wasn't really hurt from it or nothing like that.
No, he wasn't badly hurt. But I think it's just the fact that he got dropped by Areola. That really shocked me because even in Areola's prime, he wasn't known as a big puncher. He was more of a hustle and bustle heavyweight, wasn't he? Tough, strong, come forward, gave you a hard night's work. So for him to extend Andy Ruiz like he did that night, that came as a complete shock to me. Now, like I said, was that down to Andy Ruiz perhaps being complacent? We all know he's not a good trainer. He's even said so himself. The people around have said on numerous occasions that he's not always knuckled down and got it done in the gym. So was it down to that? I mean, if you got a guy that's not the most prodigious trainer anyway, and then he's coming up against a guy that he thinks he's going to beat, the odds on is that he's probably not going to train as hard as he should do. So was it that, or is he starting to show signs of fraying? You know what I mean? I think maybe we probably need to take another look at him to be sure. But certainly when I saw Ruiz-Ortiz, man, a couple of rounds in, I was thinking, nah, man, this guy, he's starting to look old in there. You know what I mean? He's starting to show his age. Is that the 41, the 45, or even the 50? Some people are saying that this guy might be as old as 50 years old. I don't believe he's that old, but, there you go.
Here's a comment here that I've seen quite a few times with regards to Ruiz, and that the weight loss has that impacted his punch resistance. I did see a few people ask that.
That's a good point, It's a good point. Because if you're used to operating at a certain weight, even though people like me and you might look at it and think, oh, he needs to lose a stone. But if he's been fighting at that weight pretty much all his professional career. So to suddenly go and lose a load of weight probably did impact negatively on his performance, because a bit like when you go up in weight, same as if you come down in weight, you need to get used to fighting at that weight. And obviously, if you've lost a lot of weight, it can weaken you if you've not done it the right way. If you crashed it, it can weaken you because you're not allowing your body time to get used to operating at that weight. So that could have been a factor, yeah. I guess we'll find out in this fight.
Yeah. My prediction, though, overall, I'm going for Andy Ruiz. I just think that I can't see this not being a fun fight. I can't. And I know Dwayne said this earlier. I can't see this not being entertaining. Both of them like to throw hands. Ruiz has got very fast hands for a heavyweight. Both of them have been vulnerable. They've shown it in their last fight. I think that we've got a very good showdown here, but I'm leaning towards Andy Ruiz. I think that it could go to points. He could win it on points. But I wouldn't rule out a late stoppage either. I think it will be entertaining while it lasts, and no one's going to dominate from start to finish. I think there's going to be ebb and flow throughout, but I just think the younger, fresher Andy Ruiz will see his way through.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I do think that Ruiz-Ortiz does have a couple of things in his favour. Number one, he's a southpaw.
Yep.
You don't get many southpaw heavyweights, but he's not only a southpaw, but he's a very accomplished southpaw, or certainly was. Top amateur, top Cuban amateur. And he's got good variety of punches, and he punches hard. So if he does tag Ruiz, he will know he's been hit. I don't think Ruiz can feel that he can just walk through him. So I think in the early rounds, you may well see Ruiz-Ortiz build up, even if it's just a slight points lead. What I'll be interested to see is, as the fight enters into the latter half, is how his conditioning holds up. Because like I said, it's clear, man, that he's getting on a bit, and the stamina and so forth is a bit suspect. So whilst he is the better boxer, could be the slight... I mean, Ruiz is a very hard hitter as well, especially with the left hook and that left hook to the body. So it's quite an intriguing matchup. Like you said earlier, I wish it could have taken place a couple of years before. We probably would have got a truer test of these guys' abilities. But nevertheless, man, I think it'll be a fun fight. I really do. I'm leaning towards Ruiz.
Yeah, I'll just check the odds, and Andy Ruiz has opened up as the favorite over Luis-Ortiz. So, according to the bookmakers, he's expected to win. We know they can get it wrong at times, but he is the favorite in that particular fight. But we're both going for Andy Ruiz here. I don't think we could doubt it will be an entertaining fight, though.
It's amazing to think, really, that a few years back now, and I can remember this well, Luis-Ortiz was seen as the boogeyman in this division, wasn't he? There was a lot of talk that even people like AJ, Fury, Dillian White, one or two others were said not to be too sharing with it. And when Wilder fought him, he gave Wilder life and death, especially in that first fight. Man. He literally came within seconds of beating Wilder in that first fight. Mm-hmm. He was ahead on points in the second fight as well. So, have those two knockouts pretty much finished him off at the top level? I guess we'll find out on Saturday.
Guess we'll find out. For those of us in the UK that want to watch it, it will be on Fight TV. So we are able to watch it on there. Probably be about $9.99 or so. And obviously, of course, it will be taking place in the early hours of the morning as it is being screened over there in America. So, looking forward to that. Now, I want to get your thoughts on this before we move on to the next topic. I haven't actually got it down, but we're kind of freestyling today. But I want your thoughts on this. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter over the week, but I thought it was pretty interesting. Devin Haney having a go at the editors of the Ring magazine. Basically, they put out their pound for pound list. Devin Haney was not on their pound for pound list. Lomachenko, however, was. Devin Haney then tweeted saying that I'm looking to ditch this belt. This is garbage. They can keep their belt. I ain't going to rock with it to the ring. Then you had the Ring editor-in-chief, Doug Fisher, who replied to Devin Haney's tweet and said, and I would have got it up if I prepared for this, but I haven't prepared. So I just thought about it just now. He replied saying, if you don't want the belt, email it back to us and we'll take the belt off you. Then him and Devin Haney went back and forth online. It got a bit ugly, really, which, was a bit of a shame, really. But arguments there whether Devin Haney should keep that Ring magazine belt. Some people said that he acted immature by saying that, why are you ditching the Ring belt over the opinion of a few magazine editors? But then there were others that said, you know what? I totally agree with where he's coming from. Lomachenko shouldn't be above him in the pound for pound list. Devin Haney's not getting the recognition. Where do you stand on it? Because I know you've had your say on the Ring magazine in the past.
First of all, I don't know why the fighters sort of give the Ring magazine belt that much credibility, to be honest. I mean, what does it mean, really? No one's really rocking with it, is it? I certainly don't care about that Ring magazine. It's got
history. Belt. It's got history, that belt has. It has been, a popular belt over the years in terms of they don't have, I guess, as close as it can be to, not paying sanctioning fees and one belt per division, like that sort of thing, for the true champion. People do take it seriously, but maybe Devin Haney takes the pound for pound list too seriously, which is what, some people were saying that this is just like a mythical ranking. You're getting upset over it, threatening to ditch the belt. It's not that serious. But, a lot of these fighters do take it serious. The pound
I guess to them it's just another trinket. It's just like a Gucci belt, isn't it? It may look good, but you don't have to have it. What does it really mean? You know what I mean? And the other thing is, as I said to you on your show before, to me, the minute Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya bought that Ring magazine, that is a compromised entity. I don't really take them serious anymore. I remember when I was growing up, and this is a long, long time ago, way before social media. I used to go out and buy a Ring magazine. There was another magazine called KO.
KO, yeah.
I used to buy those. You will know, Daryl. You grew up with me, obviously. I used to buy those magazines and keep them in the loft, and they were like treasured possessions. Now, I wouldn't. If I saw one on the floor, I don't even know if I'd pick it up, Daryl. It just means nothing. And like I said, the Ring magazine belt, once it got bought out by Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya, if you look at their articles, man, they're just so biased in favor of certain fighters that I just can't begin to, take it seriously. And I'm, listen, I think Haney should ditch it because I think he has been disrespected. How the hell is Lomachenko going to be on the pound for pound rankings? And listen, don't get me wrong, the guy's a great fighter. But recently his record has done nothing to deserve those kind of halcyon sort of heights to which he's been held by certain people. You could say he's a great fighter, but pound for pound, higher than and others. No. I mean, number 6, I think he was on there.
It was
How
number
does
6.
he get that? What has he done recently to be worthy of that? He got beaten by Teofimo Lopez, and not close as well. He was well beaten on that. He made a load of excuses. Okay, whatever. Right? Since then, Teo was well beaten by George Kambosos. Devin Haney fights Kambosos, well beaten. Devin Haney is now the champion, the youngest undisputed champion in the full belt era. Surely that deserves some proper recognition. So you can understand why he might be a little bit upset at not being in the pound for pound. But I can also see the arguments of some people saying, well, listen, man, okay, you're a undisputed champion in a full belt era. Well done. However, you're a young fighter. You've still not fought the best guys in that division, or not all of them. So I can see that too. But surely Devin Haney has a stronger argument to being in the pound for pound at the moment than Lomachenko. Lomachenko, what have you done for me lately? No way. What, that win against Richard Comey and Nakatili is going to put him on the pound for pound list? That's a joke. So you can understand him being upset. And also, I want to say this as well, right? So you would have thought that this kind of hints at the bias of these guys here. So Devin Haney has a problem with it, and he's been vocal, right? So you would expect that the proprietors of the Ring magazine would try and pacify him a little bit and explain themselves. Instead of them doing that, they're saying, "Yeah, mail back the belt." You know, I mean, thought, yeah, you lot of show.
It was unprofessional. I thought it was
a very smug and arrogant thing to do, and it just sort of epitomizes what that magazine has become.
Yeah,
mail it back, champ. Dougie's he's an idiot, man. You know what I mean?
I think that was pretty. I mean, you could have handled it better.
Yeah, no class, man. You know what I mean? What he should have done is taken the high ground and said, explain publicly. He could have gone public and said, listen, great performance against Kambosos. However, we don't feel at the Ring magazine that you've done quite enough yet to for you to be elevated onto our pound for pound listings. This is what we did. He could have produced a shortened statement to explain themselves. Instead of that, mail it back. Oh, idiot team, bro.
Yeah,
You know
I mean, we're talking maturity here. Devin Haney's still got growing up to do. He's still like 21. The editors are you're 50, mid 50s.
Yeah, man.
Twitter spats with
you've got to ask yourself, Daryl, would they have done that to some of their Golden Boy fighters? This is what I'm saying. This is why I think that whole entity's compromised. This is why I don't mess with. Remember, I told you from time, innit? I don't read their online articles. I don't have nothing to do with them. I just think that they're biased. They compromise their integrity and their fairness, and I'm not interested in anything they got to say. And like I said, I thought that was a real crass, arrogant, smug type of remark. That's become the sort of norm for the Ring magazine and the way they conduct themselves. And I thought it reflected on them very poorly, in my view.
Yeah, I have to agree. I'm not sure I don't know if there's been an update since as to whether Haney has officially given up the belt. Maybe he'll still be recognized as the Ring magazine champion, but he physically has to email back the belt. But I don't know. Email back. I mean
Doug Fisher, right? Doug Fisher. Just to say this as well, Doug Fisher's been in this game long enough. Like you said, Darryl, he's a 40, 50-year-old man, whatever it is, right? He's been in this game a long time. He knows that fighters can be rather sensitive. That's one thing everybody knows about fighters. You know what I mean? As well, it's a bit of a paradox with fighters, isn't it? On the one hand, you get the bravest people in the world go in the ring and fight, and they show enormous mental fortitude to do that. But then on the other hand, we all know, those of us who follow boxing regularly know that boxers also can be very sensitive and they can be very sort of fragile in their psyche and ego. You saw that the other day with Anthony Joshua, you know what I mean? So, and Doug Fisher would know this. And not only that, you're talking about a guy that's 21 years old. So if he's come out and he's had a bit of an issue with the way you've constructed your Ring magazine rankings. I would have thought it would just be easier to issue like a half a dozen sentence paragraph explaining what you've done and saying, listen, it's nothing personal. This was our honest opinions on it. And keep fighting, keep going the way you're going. I'm sure you'll be on our next list if you carry on the way you're going. Instead of them do that, Daryl, he's reduced it to some little street level idiot beef. You know what I mean? Let's mail it back. I just thought to him, as soon as I saw that, I thought, you are a clown.
The more I think about it, the more how quite unimpressed I am with how they responded.
Yeah, he's a clown.
I think that's very immature and not really classy at all.
And not only that, we all know that that magazine's been bought out by Golden Boy. Who's Golden Boy's lightweight? Ryan Garcia. So straight away you're thinking, have you done that because you're on that side of the street? Because that's how it kind of comes across to me. Would you have spoken to Ryan Garcia like that? If you see some of the articles of Ring Magazine and some of those others, those gushing articles about Ryan Garcia, a guy that, yes, he has potential, but he's not achieved anything yet. Compared to how they treat some of the other guys out there, you think to yourself, you lot are bought and paid for. And that's how I feel about it. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that, man. I think Dwayne B sums it up pretty well here. Doug Fisher's comments to Haney says everything right now about the Ring's current status, which is unfortunate because, like you said, we all grew up on the Ring. So,
yeah, like I said, I grew up, man. I think I've still got a lot of those magazines in the property where I live now, in the loft. And like I said, I couldn't wait back in the day for the day when the Ring magazine used to come out monthly and go and buy it. Now, if I'm walking down the street and I saw one on the floor, I don't even think I'll pick it up, even if it was in good condition. You know what I mean? It means nothing to me anymore, man. I think the game has gone past those guys. You know what I mean? Thank God.
Let's move on, man. Wanted to get your thoughts on this here. The other day, it came out. Was it yesterday or the day before? Matchroom losing the purse bids to Lou DiBella in conjunction with Frank Warren. So I'm talking about Joshua Buatsi and John Pascal here. So Lou DiBella, let me get this right. Lou DiBella and Queensbury are now going to have now got the rights to show that fight. Matchroom, some people say, Buatsi is not a big seller, but one of your future stars for sure in terms of potential and talent. You haven't really gone all out and won this particular, and I think it was an important purse bid for me to win because it's an IBF eliminator fight. It puts your fighter in a position to be next in line for a world title shot. Kind of confusing and strange as to how you've allowed Lou DiBella and Frank Warren to win this. So your fighter is now going to be the away fighter on their show. If I'm
you know what stuff like this always says to me, Daryl?
I'm looking at this a bit weird if I'm Buatsi, I'm like, yo, you couldn't win that for me.
Exactly. You know what that says to me straight away? Now, I'm sure Matchroom will argue it differently, but that says to me, do you really have the confidence of your man? And when I say confidence, I'm meaning long-term. I'm projecting long-term. Do you really believe in him? Because if you did, like you said, Daryl, you would make sure you went all out to win that purse bid. And let's face it, I heard the numbers involved weren't even that high.
Anyway.
So if you really believed in Buatsi, man, come on. You would have won that. You would have had the site somewhere where it's favourable to Buatsi. Because now, having lost it, he could end up fighting in some far-flung place that you don't want to go. So you do
over here, apparently.
Okay. Even so, I do think if you're Buatsi, you're looking at that a little sideways and thinking, whoa, these guys are supposed to have my back, man. I'm supposed to be. I remember when Buatsi signed, I remember I was there when it was announced. And it was, at the time, it was a big thing because Buatsi had come off of the Olympics and got a bronze medal. A very creditable bronze medal because in his, on that journey that he had in the Olympics, he actually knocked out the gold medal favourite. You know what I mean? And loads of people wanting to sign this guy. He looked the part. He was exciting. He's got punching power. And, fast forward to now, I think it's fair to say that his career has not really developed the way I certainly thought it would. Yes, he's still unbeaten. Yes, he's still a top fighter. But the performances have not been as stellar as I imagined they would have done. And I'm not, anyway denigrating Buatsi. I think he's a tremendous talent. The other thing you've got to say about Buatsi is what he's, and this is a double-edged sword, he's taken himself off to America, which is fine. The problem with a British fighter doing that, if you take yourself off to America and then you only come back and fight it every now and again, effectively you are, whether you like it or not, reducing your fan base because it's almost like you've not got a base in this country anymore. And that's where you're going to get your real fans come from. He's a Croydon boy, South London, but he's all the way over in San Francisco. You know what I mean? So it doesn't help to generate fans in this country. But, listen, he's still well known. He's still highly thought of. But when I heard about this purse bid loss, it did strike me as a little bit off key because I'm thinking, right, if them man really had your back, bro, they would have got their wallet out and made sure that you won that purse bid. Because listen, he's not even fought for a title yet, has he? You would have thought that this is part of the journey, The only slight problem I've got with this fight as well, and it's nothing to do with Buatsi, is that why is this eliminator with John Pascal, like a recently convicted drugs cheat who's about 40 years old? How did he sneak in there to get... This is what I'm saying about boxing, This is what I'm saying about boxing. The credibility and the integrity of boxing is just... It's just out the window, bro. How's this guy getting a title shot? The last time we were hearing about Pascal, he was in the news. He had about 8 different drugs in his system. He's like a walking Boots chemist. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Failed test after test, offering these ridiculous excuses. Oh, I didn't know how they got in my system. The usual nonsense. But then, like I said, the so-called former pound for pound failed a drugs test. Didn't stop him, did it? Tyson Fury didn't stop him. The list goes on. And all it does is just chips away at the integrity of the sport. How the hell is John Pascal in line for a title shot after what he's been getting up to recently? And it's not like he's been impressing in the ring either, is it? So it's a joke to him, man.
Yeah, I totally agree. Going back to Buatsi, I think, what some people will say in defense of Matchroom, they'll be like, look, like Buatsi, it's their job to promote him, but he hasn't really been as forthcoming in terms of, Eddie Hearn can't characterize him without him helping himself a bit as well. He hasn't been as, he's not been as popular as like a Yard, for example, or charismatic. That's just not him. But, as the promoter, like, we had this issue with Bob Arum and Terence Crawford. When you've got a talent like that in your stable, your job is to kind of develop it as much as you can. And I just don't think with Eddie Hearn, if he doesn't have the same sort of energy with you as he does with like an AJ or someone else, then, he's kind of showing his cards here. It kind of tells me a lot what's happened here. And I don't know how Buatsi feels about it, but for me, I would have thought Eddie would have at least won this. It was under $1 million, the purse bids for this. I would have expected Matchroom to win it.
I was deeply shocked. Like I said, it did kind of smack to me as if they're almost telling you like that, they don't regard you in that upper tier of people they're promoting. And that's the other thing with Matchroom. They've got so many fighters that, they're not really spreading the love around the way they should do.
Yep.
So, I don't know, man. It is a little bit awry, isn't it? It is a little bit awry.
Yeah. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on that anyway, man. Matchroom losing another purse bid. I don't think, however, it will have much of an impact on the result. I think Buatsi will deal with.
I think Buatsi will stomp him. You know what I mean? I mean, let's face it, Pascal is way past his best. He's had a lot of hard fights, had a couple of beatings. Remember the beating he took from Kovalev? I'm not being funny, man. He nearly got beaten half to death in that fight. And then a couple of fights later, he's rocked up and he's beating, who's the guy? Who's the guy that he beat? But anyway, he had a couple of fights. He beat Marcus Brown. He beat Marcus Brown. And I just thought to myself straight away, that didn't seem in keeping with what we'd seen in his previous couple of fights. And I just thought to myself, I remember I was saying it to you, Daryl, and I said it to a few people. I suspect that he's on the stuff, and I was proved right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes you get these fighters, man, you get that little late surge and you think, where did that come from? Because he looked terrible in his last couple of fights. And all of a sudden he looks remarkably rejuvenated. And you think to yourself, you do start to wonder. And sometimes you get it right. And the thing about that is that it is kind of not right that you should think that way, because straight away you look at someone's performance, you're thinking, he weren't like that a couple of fights ago. He must be on the gear. And that in itself, for you to be even thinking like that, shows the problem that we have with performance-enhancing drugs in the sport. Yeah. But I've got to, I'm going to send you a message, Joe. The Arsenal game is looming. It's a 7:30 kickoff, and I've been told I've got to be part of the watch-along, so we're going to have to bring matters to a close in the next couple of minutes.
Well, before we do, we'll quickly touch on Fury and Usyk, possibly set for February. Just wanted to get your thoughts on whether you think that will happen now, and knowing that Fury has, he has, and I can stay on while you go off. But before you go, I'll just get your thoughts and I'll carry it on.
Just in keeping. I'm glad you asked me that. Listen, Fury-Usyk, it is going to happen. All this retirement nonsense, me and you nailed it from. Well, listen, I'm not even going to come on here and act clever like I told you, because we all knew it. Everybody knew that Fury was bluffing. This is what he does. The fight will happen. They're talking about by the end of the year. I'm not sure if it'll happen by the end of the year, but it definitely will happen. And to be honest with you, I'd love to see that fight, because it's the two best heavyweights in the world, without any doubt. I think Usyk's proved that now. Fury, in many people's eyes, is the number one at the moment. And I think, you know what? I would say as well, he's the number one. However, where I disagree with a lot, I've spoken to a lot of people online and in the office even this week, and everybody seems to think that because Tyson Fury's 6'9" and he's this big behemoth, that he's going to walk through Usyk. And I'm telling them, no, boxing doesn't work like that. If you look at Fury's fights when he's been less than impressive, predominantly he's come against guys that are a lot smaller than him. Your Otto Wallins, your Steve Cunninghams, and one or two others I could name where, where he's not looked that great. And let's face it, Usyk will be the best opponent that he's fought. Certainly in terms of skill, maybe not in terms of punching power, that would be wilder. But in terms of skill, he's by far and away the best. No, in terms of skill, I think Usyk is more skilled than Vladimir, definitely. I think Vladimir is bigger puncher, bigger guy. But Usyk, being a smaller guy with a greater skill set, presents different problems. He's got those nimble feet. He throws punches in combinations. He's harder to nail. He can be hit, but he is a lot harder to nail than the bigger, heavier, more stationary guys. And I think he gives Fury a world of problems. Now, can he keep it up for 12? I mean, Fury's going to have to tweak his tactics. He's going to have to be aggressive, do some of the things that Joshua wasn't able to do, make that size and weight count, push him around. Can he do it for 12? Listen, I said to you, I can sum it up like this. I can see with the southpaw style and the nimbleness of Usyk and his heart and his determination and his mental fortitude, I can see him winning rounds off Tyson Fury. But can he win 7 rounds? That's the thing. Can he legitimately win 7 rounds out of 12? Now, that's where I think he might struggle. So I do make Fury the favourite, but I do think it's a very live fight, man. Because if Fury's not on his A game, if he just comes in there and thinks, he's a smaller man, I'm just going to push him around, like what he's been saying. But Fury's smarter than that. He knows that this will be a hard fight for him. But I do make Fury the favourite. But for those people out there who think it's going to be a walk in the park, I think you're going to be proved very wrong. And if Usyk was to beat him, it would not surprise me.
All right. I'll let you go.
Okay, man, listen, I'm really sorry about this because I wasn't meant to be on the watch-along. I was here as a backup, but I'm hearing that because of the traffic, one of the guys are running late. It's a 7:30 kickoff. It's nearly 7 o'clock now, so I'm literally going to do a little wardrobe change into my Arsenal top, go down there and take part in that. I just want to say one quick one. I know you're probably going to talk about it before you go off here anyway, but Shout out to my boy Dan Aziz. He's defending his title this weekend in a very live fight against Shakan Pitters. Very tall guy, rangy, decent puncher, young, ambitious. Should be a great fight. Obviously, I'm backing my man Dan. I tried to call him last night, actually. I couldn't get him. I'm going to try and send him a good luck messages. I'm looking forward to that fight. And let's hope he can do the business. And if he does, I'm going to try and get him on your show, Daryl, in the next week or two to have a chat, because it's been a long time since we had him on. Yep. So, yeah. But, yeah, man, thanks. Thanks.
Do your thing. And,
yeah, man. We'll catch up for sure, man. Respect. Nice one.
Big up Laurie, man. He's gone. I'll keep the stream going for a little bit longer. I just wanted to give my thought. I wanted to let Laurie speak because I knew he had to go. But my thoughts on this here with Fury and Usyk, man. Listen, I hope it does happen. I'm positive that it will. You know, from what I'm hearing, you know, and seeing from, you know, both camps. First of all, I've got no issue whatsoever with Usyk's camp. I can't see them not going through with the fight. I mean, you look at his history, his background in terms of who he's fought, where he's gone, you know, being the road fighter for every single fight. His promotional team, K2 Promotions, I believe, he hasn't had there's no sort of barriers that has led to him not being able to make fights. And I think Usyk's intentions has been clear in terms of, you know, I want to get this fight. If I don't fight Fury, I'm not really bothered about anybody else. So I think we can safely say that Alexander Usyk is all in for this fight against Tyson Fury. Fury, however, is what concerns me. Do I think he's scared of Usyk? No. But I do think that with Tyson Fury, we've seen in the past where certain fights have not happened, and, you know, he can be very contradictory, as we know. 1 minute he'll say this, the next minute he'll say something else. So I don't know. But from what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing from Frank Warren and Bob Arum and Fury himself, is that they are intending to get this on. Fury has indicated to the WBC that he's no longer looking to relinquish the belt. So he's confirmed that he is staying in boxing. That's a positive sign. Frank Warren has been on TalkSport and everywhere else saying, you know, we're going to get this on. We definitely, there's no barriers in the way. That's a good sign. Bob Arum has tweeted saying that they're looking to. So it's all positive, but things can change in boxing just like that. And the whole Fury demanding 500 million, whatever crap, you know, saying they need to pay him and all this. Hopefully that's just for show and he's being realistic. With him signaling his intentions to keep the belt, that's positive for me. And hopefully they are working behind the scenes to get this on. So if it does take place in February, that's great. Just don't drag it out as long as it needs to be. The longer you do drag it out, the more likely that the fight wouldn't be for undisputed. The sanctioning bodies will start to get involved. And then, you know, the belts will start getting fractured. I'm already hearing that Joe Joyce and Joseph Parker is going to be for the WBO interim belt. So they're basically going to be on standby if that belt does get vacated. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we do get Fury and Usyk very soon. I did hear the end of the year, but as Francisco was saying here, he said, I heard that they want to do it in February so they can promote it during the Super Bowl. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. But I think the fight will be taking place in the Middle East anyway. So I don't know how much interest it will have in America. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. WM believes that Usyk will outbox Fury. Dwayne B is saying here, I can't wait for this one. Until it is signed, I won't hold my breath, as Fury is very unpredictable. Yeah, literally, as I just said. So let's see what happens there, man. As for the fight itself, I guess we'll give it more of a breakdown once it is announced. But I'm on the same lines as Laurie, where taking 7 rounds off Fury legitimately is going to be difficult, knowing you're probably not going to be able to knock him down either. So we'll see. If anyone can do it, it's Usyk's, right? So we'll see how that goes. But very positive on that particular fight, which is good. It's good for the sport of boxing. We need it. We need this undisputed fight. We need this one. We need Crawford and Errol Spence as well. So, yeah, I'm thinking that it will get made, hopefully, in the near future. Let's talk about a fight that has been confirmed, though, and that is Dimitri Bivol and Gilberto Ramirez. That has now been confirmed. However, I'm not sure you guys would have seen it as well. Francisco, you can back me up because he was the one that confirmed it to me this week. Zerdo being arrested. I haven't followed that story completely yet, but I have seen it. He was arrested. What was it? What was he doing? Like some sort of like some drugs or something? I don't know. Like coke or something. But whatever it was some sort of antisocial behavior. Not a good look, considering that his fight is now confirmed with Dimitri Bivol. There was a press conference today, I believe. I didn't get round to watching it yet. I have literally just finished work. So I'm going to have to get round to watching that. But as for the fight itself, really looking forward to this. Two undefeated fighters. Zerdo has been chasing this for a while. Bivol coming off a career best win against Canelo. Yeah, I think that this is a fight that, it's going to be a very entertaining one. Who's the favorite for you? I'm slightly edging Bivol. However, Ramirez, man, he's going to bring it. And, he's only known victory so far in his career as well. So really looking forward to this light heavyweight showdown, man. Zerdo has been chasing this for a while. Dimitri Bivol coming off a career best win. He's not going to want to let the spotlight dim off him. I've seen that Canelo's come out and said that if Dimitri Bivol wins, then he's going to look to rematch him. So that's all the motivation you need right there to continue to win. And then obviously we got Artur Beterbiev as well, who's got 3 of the belts. So very good fight. Dimitri Bivol, back-to-back tough fights. Looking forward to that one. And let's get your thoughts on it as well, man. I think that it's going to be a very, very good showdown, a very tight one as well in terms of back and forth action. We know that Bivol's got a fantastic jab. Zerdo will have to get him out of his rhythm. But I think that it's going to be a very entertaining fight, man. Taking place in Abu Dhabi as well. So, just thought I'd touch on that. And, I'm really looking forward to it. But like I said, I'm going to have to catch up on the actual press conference. But if there's nothing more from you guys here, I can wrap the stream up now. Francisco has actually commented. He said here, definitely not a good look for Zerdo. He was intoxicated and arrested, throwing beer cans at people. Hopefully it's a one-off and not an indication of his normal life. Yeah, I was going to say that I hadn't heard of Zerdo really being involved in anything like that previously. So I was a bit surprised when I heard the news. But not a good look at all. But like I said, maybe if the press conference, if it did take place today, he would have addressed it a bit more, said it was a one-off. I'm sure that his team around him will advise him to do that. But yeah, Dwayne B has said here, cracking fight. I can't wait. It's the second best fight that can be made in the division. Yeah, it is. It actually is. So, very, very good fight, man. Really looking forward to it. Let me wrap it up here, though, guys. We'll be back on the show next week. Just wanted to touch in with you lot all. I'll probably try and do another show on the Sunday, maybe. I think I may have free space that day. Maybe we could touch on the Andy Ruiz and Luis-Ortiz fight and the Dan Aziz, Shakan Peters fight as well. You guys lock in. Don't forget to hit the like button. Share the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. But we'll probably try and tap in on Sunday and look out for the show taking place next week as well. Big up all you guys in the comments, man. Feel free to enjoy your evening, and we'll all catch up very, very soon.